What's up, dude?
What's up, Dum Dum?
Dude, I got a hot tip for you.
Oh, do you? Yeah,
Yeah,
let's hear it. What is it?
pistachios. Pistachios. They are yummy. I've been waiting on you to get this thing going, and I've eaten like a whole bowl of pistachios as a
I
snack.
think there's a couple lessons here. One, awesome. Thank you. Pistachios are good.
Mhm.
Two, today's Wednesday cleanse day, so I won't be eating any pistachios, but you don't know about that. Three, when you were waiting on me,
Yeah.
we agreed to a certain time. So this is where communication and listening is brilliant. We should probably
Oh,
do
communication.
a good Dum Dum episode on or a Dum Dudes
Talking.
episode on talking about listening,
Oh,
because yesterday we
we did. We
agreed
talked
on
about
a
that.
10 o'clock start time.
Shema. We talked about Shema listening.
We did Shema. So maybe you said Shema a little bit and not hit me up 30 minutes early to be on a call
Oh,
that we agreed the night before. Just throwing that
okay.
out there.
Oh, okay. What are you talking about, dumb dude?
We're talking about talking.
Talking about talking?
Yeah, we're talking about talking, and we're talking about just why this can be difficult for us sometimes. And I think especially as dudes, it's really interesting to me is when you look at, I don't know, this just popped in my head, but when you have the word counts, like a lot of, I think, a lot of times I'll listen to like Rick Warren will talk a lot about men's word counts versus women's word counts and what those numbers and the disparity between them. But if you think about the number, even for dudes, it's a pretty high number. I'm just completely, I think it's like 5,000 or something. Women are
Yeah.
10,000 or something words a day, whatever it is. But what's interesting to me is of those 5,000, how many of them are meaningful?
Mm.
And how intentional are we in seeking out to have those meaningful, deep conversations? And why is that so difficult? And you sent me a really creepy video.
It
A
was it
song I
was
never
it was a
heard
new
of.
hot song that was out on the radio that I listened to.
Was it? Yeah,
Yeah, I
it
mean,
was interesting.
yeah, yeah. It
But
wasn't
the message was good. The
the
message
message
was
was
good.
the message was good. It was the message was talking is hard. And I agree, talking is hard. I think it's, like you said, incredibly hard for dudes. I think it's hard for dudes to get real with other dudes, but I also think it's hard for dudes to talk to women about some meaningful stuff. And our friend Jason Valadeo, who we hang out with and talk to on a regular basis, a part of his routine in journaling is writing down a meaningful conversation and trying to be intentional about having meaningful conversations. And I think that's super powerful, man. That's something I've taken on myself, and I'm not very good at it. I'll have a lot of blank areas on my journaling of when I have meaningful conversations, but I'm trying to be a little bit more intentional about that. One, with my spouse, I'm trying to be intentional and engaged, because what happens a lot is, for me, I'll do these podcasts, you and I will be talking about business. We'll have conversations and calls about investing and real estate and all this stuff. And I talk all day long. And then at the end of the day, when my wife wants to talk to me about something, either our kids or even something that's not even about our kids or our family, like I'm done. Like, and I oftentimes am like, hey, honey, I'm talked out. I'm done. I have a headache. I'm talked out. And she gets angry at me, obviously, but I need to get better about that. And I don't know what it is about it being so hard, but I don't know. You have any thoughts on that?
Well, I just think like anything, and for someone like me to talk is not difficult, right? I enjoy it. I get energy from it. I appreciate the relational aspect of just having a conversation. And I think what I took my interpretation of, that song, whatever, but just in general, is that it's not necessarily the frequency and the number of words and all this kind of stuff. It's the intentionality of what it is we're talking about. And I think it's very easy to be, even when you think about like talking to investors, well, I think you have to be very clear on your intentions. And so, for example, you and I talk often about doing business with people that we'd want to have a beer with, or that we share values, or whatever the thing may be. And so if you're not intentional with where your words go and who you talk to, and the depth of the relationship, or whatever it is that you're trying to cultivate, then I think it's easy to talk. And if you're not an extrovert, then, there's that part of the conversation. But what we're talking about is having meaningful conversations. And usually when I'm talking to an investor, it's not just, hey, can you write us a check? And then we're good. And then, it's not that. It's a relationship building thing. And us filling each other out, like, okay, do I trust you? Do they trust us to write us a check? And do I want to manage their money and them and their personality and who they are, and do business together? And I think there's just a level of depth that we sometimes miss. And then to take that further, not just business, but in interpersonal relationships, I think that's where really the magic is. And some of the conversations we've been having recently with a smaller group of dudes, like just getting real, right? Like talking through some of these challenges, and talking through some of the things we face with our wives and our kids and our friendships, and really understanding. And again, you don't always want to be that guy. Like everybody who calls me, I don't want to be the guy that's like, you call like, hey, Goody, what's up? I'm like, hey, tell me something deep today. Like, right. Like you don't always want to, it doesn't always have to be, that's not what I'm saying.
I'm a dumb dude.
It's not, yeah, right. But if you're never doing that, and if you're never exploring the difficulty of having meaningful conversations with whomever, then I would just offer that most of those relationships are going to be very surface level. And they're probably, when they're surface level, they're going to be agenda driven. And they're not going to be fulfilling. And I think you really, especially as a dude, have to be very intentional with getting, whether it's a group or having a relationship with somebody, that you get to that level of depth in order to become more self-aware and to become a better person, really, to be I shouldn't say better person, to be a better version of yourself that you want to be, that you want to pursue. And I think you're never going to get there unless you're willing to put in the work of having meaningful conversation, and you're making your words count.
Yeah, man. I think I would offer, and I don't have any statistics on this, but I would offer that as you continue to get older and older, you probably have less of those people in your life that you do have those meaningful conversations with, that you can kind of go deep and have those hard conversations. So I'd like to challenge, our listeners, figure out who that is, and try to get intentional about trying to have more meaningful conversations, and have those, it's hard. So put yourself out there, try to have some conversations with some individuals, with other dudes, with your spouse, with close friends, with family. And it's freeing. It really is. Like, if you get real with, and kind of throw some stuff out there with people, it really, I think, can help you find your highest and best.
Yeah. And the other side of that too is, as you get older, our problems get more significant. Right. And, I think it's important to also, really take stock of the folks you're hanging out with. And if you don't want to get deep, or if the person that you're hanging out with doesn't want to go there, then is that really a friend? Right. And our time is so important. And so, like, for example, JV, when everybody else got off the call yesterday, he and I were talking. He said, one of the things is, we were talking about a number of things, but one of the things we kind of ended the conversation was, he said, I know if I texted you, we're both very busy, but I know if I text you and said, hey, dude, I have something really important that I want to talk to you about, be 5-10 minutes. It's like, I know that you would call me, or that you'd answer the phone. Right. He said, I know that. And as we talked through that, it was interesting because, and that was in the context of him talking about some other people that were very agenda driven, trying to get some of his time in this particular case. And they weren't the people that he had confidence that he could trust or invest in. And so I think it's important to really think through that, right? And to think, okay, like when the rubber hits the road, when the worst thing happens, is this the person? And everybody doesn't have to be that person, but I think the most of your time should go to those people, not the people that are not going to be available, or that it is very agenda driven. And I just think it's important to kind of flip it on its head, not just being that person and talking and whatever, but when you're seeking out those individuals, I think it's really important to kind of cut the fat, especially as we get older, right? Because it's just it's not that these are waste of time activities, but is it your highest and best? Is it your highest and best? And I think that's what it boils down to. If you're not asking those questions in everything you do, then you're just always going to be at that level of effort that you put in, and whether that's mediocre or whatever that is, that's the reason. That's the reason your relationships are going to be that way, because you don't want to put in the work. And so I think it's just important to be aware about that.
Yeah, man. Well, don't be dumb. Have some meaningful conversations. Get out of your comfort zone and go talk to people. Get deep, and don't be dumb.
But if you are dumb, then you better be deep in your dumbness, and don't be dumb.
See ya.
Signing off.